They thought she was just one more human, unarmed, alone, insignificant. But the moment she stepped onto that war-torn planet, everything changed. Empires fractured, alliances crumbled, and one name echoed through the stars, not as a warning, but as a reckoning. She didn't come to be remembered. She came to end the forgetting. They didn't notice her at first. Just another human walking off a rusted civilian shuttle into a conflict zone that no sane being entered without a fleet. She wore a faded coat, boots scuffed by dirt and ash, no visible weapons. The guards at the border station barely lifted their rifles as she passed through. Just a girl with a datapad, hood up, face unreadable. The Karkari Dominion controlled this quadrant. Ruthless, efficient, and proud of breaking three-star nations in a single cycle. They had orders to wipe the rebels out, to make an example of the human colonies that had refused annexation. But the real war wasn't over planets or politics. It was over something older, older than laws, older than maps. It was about what happened when you underestimated the species that didn't start the war, but always ended it. She entered the outer colony of Darnex IV, a city in ruins. The local resistance was in hiding, scattered and hunted. Drones patrolled the skies. Karkari mechs moved through the rubble. People had stopped believing in heroes a long time ago. And then she walked into a garrison. No one questioned how. The security logs would later show a glitch in the scanners. Surveillance footage went static. By the time the alarms rang, 5 officers were already dead. No wounds, no noise. One by one they collapsed. One garrison lost contact. Then 2, then 7. The Karkari responded with force. Dropships blacked out the skies. War machines lined the streets. They made the announcement loud and clear: surrender or be erased. The voice of Governor Vec broadcast across every channel. One human is not a threat. One human is not a revolution. One human is a body waiting to fall. That broadcast never finished. The feed showed her walking up the steps of the regional tower alone. No army, no banners, just footsteps. Calm, deliberate. The guards opened fire. The bullets stopped midair. The cameras blinked out. When they came back online, the tower was gone. Not bombed, not toppled. Gone clean vaporization from the inside out. 37 Karkari officers, including Governor Vec, had vanished with it. The central power grid collapsed. Resistance fighters found weapons caches left unlocked. Codes leaked through secure comms. Mech stood powered down, cores missing. She had no call sign, no broadcasted demands. She didn't speak once. But her image, blurry, fragmented, always with the hood up, spread like fire. The rebel networks gave her a name first, not a military code name, just a word: Vera. No last name, no file, no record in Earth's databases. Karkari Command tried to classify it as sabotage, a cyber attack, a ghost protocol, but their generals knew better. This wasn't software. It wasn't politics. It was a message written in their dead. The next colony she visited had already fallen. Karkari warships blockaded the sky. She dropped into orbit without clearance, landed in the wastelands where chemical burns still smoldered. Survivors say she walked straight into the central facility, where hundreds of humans had been experimented on, and tore the walls open with her bare hands. What she found inside wasn't just victims. It was proof. Data banks full of archived tests, torture reports, recordings of screams. A decade of war crimes hidden from the Council. She didn't deliver the evidence. She didn't need to. The moment she exited that lab, satellites began leaking the files across galactic networks. Untraceable, unstoppable. The Karkari scrambled to contain the fallout, but it was too late. Empires that had once funded them withdrew support. Treaties broke. Black market suppliers cut ties. She didn't give speeches. She didn't ask for change. She just exposed the truth and let the galaxy tear itself apart. By week's end, 8 more rebel cells had rearmed. Civilians rose in city after city. Human colonies that once begged for aid now armed themselves, whispering the same name across the dark. Karkari Command issued a bounty. 10 million credits for her capture alive. Her image plastered across every port, every channel, warnings in dozens of languages, but every attempt failed. Snipers never saw her. Traps disarmed themselves. Ambushes collapsed before they started. Entire squads vanished mid-transmission. Some survivors claimed she looked them in the eyes and something changed. They dropped their weapons. They ran. Some never spoke again. Council observers began investigating. Analysts reviewed her tactics. No consistent pattern. No clear affiliation with any known human organization. Some believed she was augmented. Others said she wasn't human at all. But one Earth admiral, when asked about her on record, simply said, "She's human. You just forgot what that means." As Section 1 closed, the Karkari made one final move. They called in the Voidbringers, elite bioengineered enforcers used only when extermination was the only option left. 25 units deployed to the Kalari moonbase, where Vera had last been sighted. One transmission came back. Audio only. It was a whisper, one word: run. All contact was lost. That moon no longer exists on the star charts, and the name Vera wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a prophecy. Karkari High Command declared full military lockdown in Sector 12. Every outpost tripled patrols. Civilian traffic was grounded. Clearance protocols were rewritten hourly. They weren't just hunting Vera anymore. They were afraid. Entire battalions reassigned to counter her movements. Dozens of analysts brought in to track her. Dozens more lost their minds trying. She didn't move like an operative, didn't strike like an assassin. She didn't follow human military logic or alien war doctrine. She moved like a consequence, an inevitability. By the time she reached the orbital research station above Dregari Prime, everyone knew she was coming. It didn't matter. 3 Karkari dreadnoughts surrounded the station. Station Commander Rao kept 400 soldiers on standby, plus automated defenses, aerial drones, and direct neural suppression fields. The plan was simple. Lock her in a corridor and gas her unconscious. She let them think it worked. Sensors detected her at Docking Bay 9. 4 squads moved to intercept. Cameras showed her enter the airlock. The gas deployed. Systems showed 0 oxygen, full paralysis agents. Standard lethal to most humans in 2 minutes. At minute 3, she stepped out. None of the guards reacted. They were still breathing, still conscious, but they didn't move. Not one finger, not one breath out of place. The footage later showed their vitals spike, then freeze. Their minds weren't broken, just paused, held. She walked through them like wind through glass. Inside the research station, Karkari scientists had been building something forbidden. A psychic relay core, designed to weaponize mental resonance and control low-tier species across planetary distances. Something that violated every law, every treaty. It wasn't a rumor anymore. Vera entered the core chamber and did something no one expected. She broadcasted it, in real time across council frequencies. Proof of manipulation. Brainwashing protocols. Forced loyalty chips. Tech stolen from over 20 races, human included. She didn't speak over the broadcast. She didn't need to. The galaxy listened to the silence and the screaming files behind it. Before the Karkari could shut it down, Vera ripped the relay's command core from the floor and walked into the nearest breach vent. Alarms blared. Emergency seals failed. Station Commander Rao screamed orders. But the outer hull melted inward, pulled by some force no one could explain. She didn't exit through the hangar. She exited into space. And the station went dark. From the surface of Dregari Prime, witnesses saw the explosion bloom like a silent nova, an implosion, then eruption, then nothing. No debris, no escape pods, just an empty orbit. The dreadnoughts pulled back in panic. Scanners couldn't locate her, but 3 days later the dreadnoughts went silent too. No survivors. The galaxy stopped calling her Vera. They started calling her the Echo, not because of her voice, but because everything she touched left a resonance, a wave, a collapse that spread. In the shadows, the other empires started to worry. Not about the Karkari's losses, but about how she was doing it. Human diplomats denied involvement. Earth's military declared her rogue, but that didn't stop her. Nothing did. She appeared next on Pharaoh 6, a neutral trade moon. No conflict, no war, but every Karkari official hiding in exile had taken refuge there. Untouchable, protected by mercenary guilds and corporate contracts. It was supposed to be beyond reach. She landed on foot, walked through the main plaza. The crowd parted without realizing why. Merchants dropped wares, drones shut down, buildings flickered. The air shifted. The mercenary guilds moved to intercept her, top-tier ex-council killers, genetically modified, equipped with temporal shielding. They never touched her. All 15 of them screamed once, then collapsed. Not wounded, not dead, just rewritten. One stood up after 20 minutes and begged to be arrested, said she showed him what he'd become. The Karkari exiles fled underground. She followed. No gunfire, no chase, just an elevator door opening and closing. Later scans showed the underground complex perfectly intact, except one thing. Every Karkari inside was gone. Clothing, equipment, data cores, even bones gone. Dust, but no signs of fire. Only the smell of ozone and a faint humming noise in the concrete. The council convened an emergency session. 12 species demanded answers. Earth's ambassador simply played a clip, an ancient Earth myth, Nemesis, the goddess who delivers what's owed. He said nothing else. Some called Vera a weapon. Others called her divine punishment. One council member called her a paradox in motion, but all agreed the Karkari war was ending, not because they lost fleets or resources, but because they lost fearlessness. Commanders deserted. Squadrons surrendered without engagement. Colonies abandoned. Recruitment collapsed. Children whispered her name in fear and warriors refused to speak it at all. But Vera wasn't finished. She turned toward Echelon Prime, the capital world of the Karkari Dominion. It wasn't a battlefield. It wasn't even an open war. But it was the heart. Every order, every purge, every atrocity started there. They said she'd never get close. Shields were impenetrable. Airspace locked. Defense arrays tuned to detect even gravitational shifts. For 9 centuries, the city had never been breached. And yet at 02:14 station time, the alarm sounded. She was inside the palace. No approach, no breach, just presence. Hallways blacked out. Guards fell unconscious in synchronized waves. The High War Chancellor, Baltorin, locked himself in the vault, a bunker meant to survive planetary collapse. She stood in front of him. No one saw how. The door was still sealed. The vault untouched. He begged, promised wealth, surrender, secrets. He promised exile. He swore he was only obeying orders. Her hand touched his temple. One moment later, every screen on the planet went white. Not static, not blank. Memories, millions of them, every crime, every torture, every voice screaming, every victim he'd ever ordered into silence, projected for all to see. By morning, he was gone. The council declared the Karkari government collapsed. Their fleets were decommissioned. Neighboring empires stepped in to stabilize the regions they once conquered. And Earth said nothing, never took credit, never retaliated, because Vera never returned. She vanished. Some say she died on Echelon Prime. Others say she left the galaxy altogether. A few whisper she walks still, watching, not punishing anymore, but waiting. But one truth remained, spoken by the survivors of every system she touched. One name ended an empire. And even now, when children ask who saved them, who tore down the tyrants, the answer is always the same. She came alone. Months passed. The Karkari Empire was gone, its systems abandoned or absorbed, its fleet disarmed, its leaders either missing or rotting in exile. The galaxy tried to move on. Treaties were restructured, borders redrawn. New coalitions rose from the vacuum. But one truth hung like gravity behind every decision, every whisper, every silence. She hadn't returned. Vera had come and gone like a cosmic phenomenon. No origin, no trace, no confirmation of death. Her last known location was deep beneath the ruins of Echelon Prime, where the former War Chancellor's palace still stood buried in ash and silence. Satellite surveillance detected no motion. Thermal scans read zero. Life signs, none. Still no one entered. And yet, the whispers never stopped. In backwater bars on Terran outposts, soldiers told stories of a woman who passed through checkpoints without clearance. On mining moons once controlled by the Karkari, prisoners swore a shadow had passed through their cells and unlocked every door. Even pirates claimed to have seen a hooded figure drift past their ships in dead space, untethered, unarmed, untouched by vacuum. But Earth knew the truth, at least the part they were willing to admit. Deep in a secure vault beneath the Mars archive, one file existed. No name, no tags, just a number, E17 Omega. Project designation, empath. Redacted from all records, it wasn't a weapon. It was a child, born from one of Earth's last pre-war genetic programs, not designed for combat, not built to destroy. The project's purpose had been restoration, peacekeeping through emotional synchronization. An advanced empath, someone who could feel, mirror, and reflect emotional states so precisely they could disarm conflict without violence. But something went wrong. She didn't just feel others, she absorbed them. Pain, fear, rage, trauma, guilt. The broken pieces of the human soul soaked into her mind with every breath she took near suffering. As a child, she couldn't distinguish herself from others. She stopped speaking, stopped reacting. Doctors said she was catatonic. She wasn't. She was drowning in everyone. Then came the Karkari raid on Research Colony 9, a test attack. The world wasn't defended. No military assets, no strategic value. They landed, extracted data, and cleansed the surface to send a message. 36,000 humans died. No one knew she'd survived. They didn't know she'd seen everything. And they didn't know that a mind built to absorb emotion had just experienced the purest form of terror, grief, and rage all at once. She wasn't human anymore. Not fully. She became a mirror, not of who people were, but of what they deserved to face. Those who stood before her didn't just see her eyes. They saw everything they had buried, their crimes, their failures, their cowardice. Her presence was judgment, unspoken, unblinking, unrelenting. When she reappeared on Darnex 4 years later, no one knew it was her. Not Earth, not the Karkari, not even the Resistance. But the moment she walked onto the battlefield, the war shifted, not because of what she carried, but because of what she unleashed. A reflection, a reckoning, a silence that made tyrants scream. Empires ran simulations. Even post-collapse, think tanks tried to quantify her abilities. Neural mapping, no match. Psionic scans failed, tactical predictions, useless. The few who attempted to reconstruct her path only found this. She didn't fight like a soldier. She fought like every victim she had ever felt, like she owed them blood. But she never raised a weapon. Every collapse began with a whisper. Every surrender started with a stare. Every disappearance began when they heard their own voices scream in the dark, not hers. The Council, desperate to learn more, interrogated Earth's leadership, demanded access to their archives, threatened embargo, sanctions. Earth didn't flinch, because the truth was even Earth had stopped watching her, stopped following her. They let her go, because somewhere in the deepest human subconscious, buried beneath doctrine and diplomacy, one principle had always remained unshaken. You do not leash your monsters. You send them where monsters live. On the anniversary of the fall of the Karkari, a strange phenomenon was detected. 17 border colonies, once Karkari strongholds, lit up with identical signals. No voice, no threat, just coordinates. They pointed to a system previously marked as dead, uninhabitable, lifeless. An Earth scout ship was dispatched. Inside the system, they found a single artificial construct, a monument. Orbiting a black star, it held no atmosphere, no warmth. Just one inscription, carved into the core of the structure in dozens of languages. There is no peace without memory. There is no future without debt. And there is no forgiveness without a witness. Underneath, one word, VERA. The scout team transmitted the message, then turned back silent. No one claimed her afterward. No more sightings. No more rebellion sparked by footsteps. No more echoes in the dark. Some believe she died, used what was left of herself to bury the war once and for all. Others say she's still out there, watching the stars, waiting for the next scream too loud to ignore. But even now, when war looms, when new empires rise, when tyrants stretch too far, children still ask, what happens if Vera comes back? And the veterans of that war, the ones who saw her walk through walls, heard silence turn into justice, they all answer the same way. Then we don't pray for peace. We pray she still remembers who we are. Because in the end, she didn't need an army. She didn't need a fleet. She didn't even need a home. She only needed one thing, a name the galaxy would never forget. And she gave it to them.